The lore of Toy Story is that its success appeared inevitable, breaking box office records and sweeping awards ceremonies. The reality is quite different. In fact, Toy Story nearly died on a Black Friday in 1993 when the Walt Disney Corporation pulled funding from Toy Story to put it out of its misery. The worst part was, Disney was making the right move. The rough cut of Toy Story they just watched was terrible, but there was something more here. Disney might have been right, but what if, despite their sterling reputation, they indeed caused the problem? And further, what if Toy Story creators who had been doing what they could to please Disney were the only ones who could fix the film? And finally, and most importantly, what if in saving that film, Toy Story would not only disrupt animation, but its shockwaves would shatter the trajectory of both the entertainment and technology sectors as a whole, foundationally changing them, resulting in some of the greatest inventions ever known. To succeed, 3 exiles would have to learn the lesson. Don't play the big company's game, play your own. And the first of these exiles, Toy Story creator John Lasseter, was about to make a major decision doing just that. Disney cut funding but gave Lasseter a lifeline, a 2-week sprint to simply prove to Disney that Toy Story could be saved. Lasseter's only problem was, to save it, he was going to have to do the opposite of what Disney wanted. But it gets worse. Disney was on a rampage of hits at the time, a revival golden era, sending out 5 straight rocket ships and finding its pinnacle with The Lion King. Helming that fleet was Jeffrey Katzenberg, who no one questioned, except Lasseter, who was not only going to question him, he was going to have to contradict Disney's fundamental rules of storytelling. Crossing Katzenberg was bold to say the least, but for someone like John Lasseter to do it was simply insane. While Katzenberg worked for the cash-printing Disney, Lasseter worked for a literal money pit, a small company named Pixar. Pixar was a financial debacle, first an albatross for George Lucas, who sold it for $10 million to a recently fired from Apple Steve Jobs. Jobs then proceeding to sink $50 million of his personal net worth into it, with only one real result, an Oscar-winning short, which was a catalyst for Disney greenlighting Toy Story. But now Disney pulled funding, and Jobs was looking like the worst businessman in history. But unbeknownst to them all, this situation was unlocking a complete reset to the animation industry. And it might seem this reset would start with technology, but it didn't. It started in a place Disney never expected, with the lead character of Toy Story named Woody. Woody had caused Disney to pull funding, and it was this character where Lasseter was about to make his gamble. The 2 weeks passed in a flurry. Lasseter stood in front of Katzenberg and made his pitch. To truly understand the sheer force of what that pitch meant to the industry is to understand its real result. When Toy Story finally hit theaters, it was an earthquake in the entertainment industry that not only upended animation, it completely flipped the table on the entertainment economy itself. Until Toy Story, Disney seemed unstoppable, but after its release, the writing on the wall was clear. A new style of animation storytelling was ablaze, and it all came back to that pitch room where John Lasseter had risked everything. While Katzenberg had repeatedly set records, his treatment of Woody was for the character to be edgier, so much so that Woody became an unlikable villain and was ruining the movie. But Lasseter saw in Woody a completely different character who was genuine, kind, and a flawed hero afraid of irrelevance. When Lasseter pitched this idea, Katzenberg made the most unexpected reply. He agreed. In that pairing, Katzenberg and Lasseter dug an entirely new trench for animation, which took what was a doubted technology, 3D, and gave it a soul. Woody, Buzz Lightyear, and friends captured themes of bittersweetness, growing up, and a familiarity that had never before been seen, reinventing an American art form and leading to a string of hits. But while the incredible march of Toy Story was life-changing for everyone, it perhaps affected no one more than Steve Jobs. A media darling, then ousted from Apple at 30 years old, Jobs liquidated his bank account just to keep Pixar alive, and yet it appeared all he did was make Disney rich. Toy Story was a hit, but Disney owned all of it. Just like at Apple, Jobs seemed to have been thwarted, but this time he had different plans. Jobs' later return to Apple might be the legend, but one of the key reasons he was able to even go back to Apple was Pixar. The week Toy Story released, Jobs did not just recoup his money, he made one of the best business decisions in history. He took Pixar public. The $50 million sinkhole suddenly made him a billionaire. It would seem Jobs and Toy Story finally had a happy ending. In reality, their challenges were only beginning, starting with an unexpected tragedy that forced them right back into battle. Toy Story and Jobs were finally coming into their own, but Disney was falling apart. The glue of Disney's leadership, COO Frank Wells, unexpectedly died in a helicopter crash, and when CEO Michael Eisner did not promote Jeffrey Katzenberg to Wells' position, Katzenberg quit, started his own 3D animation company with two of the largest moguls in Hollywood, Steven Spielberg and David Geffen, and sued Disney. Suddenly, Pixar had major competition. Fortunately, something had occurred during Toy Story that could save Pixar, something revealed by Pixar founder Ed Catmull. While Jobs and Lasseter were visionaries, Catmull was the computer engineer and quiet glue of Pixar, who had been helping organize Lasseter's storytelling into a ferociously tight and organized system, which was called the Brain Trust. While Katzenberg would go into direct competition and eventually put out hits like How to Train Your Dragon and Shrek and settle with Disney for $280 million, Catmull would help contribute to Pixar and Lasseter's process, creating storytelling perfection that would lead to a string of hits, daring in both technology and storytelling, simply outpacing everyone. The success of Pixar became so undeniable that Steve Jobs, who had by 2006 been restored to Apple as CEO and was leading a rally there, sold Pixar to new Disney CEO Bob Iger for over $7 billion, now making Jobs look like the greatest businessman in history, and also making him the largest shareholder in Disney. Pixar founder Ed Catmull once had an unbelievable dream to make the first 3D animated movie, and with a broken company, Jobs, he, and Lasseter fused creativity, technology, and universal themes to create some of the most touching stories in history. When a few outcasts decided to put a stake in the ground, relentlessly worked together for perfection, and found their compass, they followed it in the most impossible moment and made history. This is Moreau.